the Celtics have had back-to-back losses to the Atlanta Hawks. One of them throwing away a huge lead, one of them going to overtime and DeJounte Murray killing them. But hearing from Joe Mazzula after the game, where he said, "Oh, I'm just trying out new stuff because we've locked up the one seed. So I'm using these games as a way to experiment." Does that make you feel better or worse about the Celtics' chances to go deep into playoffs and win a championship? Because I feel like just going to the conference finals isn't enough for this team after such a good regular season.
No, I agree. This team has to get to the finals, and you're a couple weeks away from the playoff starting. So experimentation, I'm not quite sure what he is referring to when he says that. I think what you want to be doing is playing good, solid basketball going to the playoffs. And they've done that for the majority of the season. But you have to be a little bit concerned that they dropped 2 games to a team like Atlanta, who is struggling to make it into the, hold on to a play-in spot. You know, and especially the last game that they played, I think Boston had all their guys playing in that game, if I'm not mistaken, right? The starting group played. So you can say, "Oh, we took our foot off the gas. We're playing." And BJ can speak to this. The game is nothing really to play around with especially when the stakes are this high. And I know
What he was referring to, sorry, just the quote from Joe Mazzula, was, DeJounte Murray, as we said, had 44 shots and 44 points. And the reporters were asking why they didn't double team on DeJounte Murray. And Joe said that he wanted to get good practice reps for 1 through 5 switching because they've not done that too much throughout the season. So, especially for Porzingis being able to switch onto those ones and see if he can hold up, especially when someone's on the heater like DeJounte was. That's what he wanted to get the practice reps of.
Okay. Again, hey, he's the coach of the team, and that's a philosophy that he wanted to test drive. That's his prerogative. But at the same time, I'd like to test drive some of those things and win one of those games. I'm not saying they had to win both, but I just don't like leaving town. They were there for a few days and they playing Atlanta Hawks twice and them not at least winning one of those games. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I just think you want to continue winning as much as you can.
I'm not mad at them. I've been to Atlanta a few times, Scott. Basketball was not the focus on my mind when I spent my time there. So you've locked up the one seed. It's late in the season. I'm not mad at you. Enjoy life, fellas.
Hey, but see, to your point, I hear you, Mo, but anything short of the NBA Finals and probably short of an NBA championship.
It has to be a championship because they've broken all these regular season, like,
exactly. So
point differential.
Anything short of winning the championship, I don't want to be looking back and saying, "Oh, well, we just kind of waltzed our way into the playoffs and we didn't take these last 2 weeks seriously because we had clinched everything." No, you got to stay locked in. You got a couple more months to stay locked in. And guess what? You win the title, then you can go hang out in LA, Miami, LA, wherever you want to go hang out. It's a time to do that.
Yeah.
And look, our man here, the 3-time champion, he can tell you the same thing. I'm sure they had the same, these cities had the same offerings, if you will, when he was playing, but their team had to decide, okay, what is more important? Hey, to hang out and stay up all night and not come totally locked in to win to the finish line of the regular season and be totally locked in come playoff time? BJ, what do you say to that? Was that you guys' thought process?
Well, I would love to believe that you can turn it on and turn it off as you see fit.
We have this every episode.
No, well, I would love to believe that.
Yeah, right.
But look, Scott understands this as an executive. Scott has won a world championship. it is really, really difficult to win in the NBA. And you don't take that lightly. And you can't take that for granted. You can't just say, well, we're experimenting, kind of like a casual thing. When you win in this league, it's because you earned it. And you have to respect the game. Because as we all know, who's worked in this league, played in this league, things can turn very quickly. An injury can turn, people cannot play well, things can just go south. And when you have an opportunity to win, and when you have an opportunity to compete, you know, you guys in this generation say, stay locked in. You have to take advantage of this situation. I think you run the chance of being and approaching the game when you start having a casual way of approaching the game. I can deal with losing. Just give me what you got. But when you start saying things like, well, I was experimenting, I'm always concerned, because winning is a habit and losing is a habit. And when you win a championship, yeah, you can say you worked hard, you can say you were grinding, you can say all these things, but let me tell you the truth here. You have to win close games, and you need some luck in those close games too. You need a bounce. You need another team didn't execute, or whatever the case may be, because one play is the difference between winning and losing. So I would like this team to continue to build good habits. And Scott knows this, and I'm telling anyone who's ever won a championship, I don't care what level, when you disrespect the game by not doing everything right one time, it can change your whole outcome for that year, for the rest of the season. And the Boston Celtics, they've been terrific. They've shot the ball well. They play however they play, and we can debate about their style. However, don't start experimenting with the game right now.
Yeah.
Well, don't start experimenting. Don't start experimenting, because let me tell you something. The teams they're going to be playing in the playoffs, Scott, when the playoffs start, the season is 0-0.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't care what you did in the regular season. Mm-hmm. And that is a mentality.
Well, the scariest part,
just keep staying focused.
The scariest part is the Celtics are the 1 seed. The Hawks are currently 10th, which means if they win their playing game, they will be the 8th seed. And the Celtics are going to have to face them in the first round. They faced them in the first round last year and dropped 2 games in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And now coming off the back of back-to-back losses in Atlanta, I don't know if that's the first round you really want. But we know the Celtics historically love making life hard on themselves. So we'll see how that rolls out.
Yeah, and you know, the last point about this, the rest of the teams in the Eastern Conference right now, I doubt very seriously that they're experimenting at this stage of the season. They
don't have their seeding locked up, so they're trying to improve
I understand they don't have their seed, but what I'm saying is they're being locked into what they have to do. Mm. And to BJ's point, if I'm at the top of the mountain and I decide to take my foot off the gas pedal and I'm kind of switch up what I've been doing all season long that allowed me to be the first to the top of the mountain. Now you're going to say, okay, well, let's recalibrate again and lock back in like we were in the beginning of the year. It doesn't have to happen when you do that. That's all we're saying. Now, again, I still favor the Celtics to come out of the East? Yes. But
full transparency for our listeners, we're recording this on the Saturday before the Celtics play the Pelicans. So we'll see how locked in they are against the good Pelicans team who have been on form recently.